welcome to Red Boots and Heels. We're glad that you joined us today.
No. We're not glad. I mean, we're glad.
No, we're not glad, actually.
We're glad that you're joining in to hear what we have to say, because I think we all feel about the same, but we're not glad.
No,
we're not happy. We're not anything. We are frustrated, and we've had enough, and we hope that you've had enough too.
Yeah, really. I mean,
and by the way, I'm Boots.
Yeah. Yes. So we're happy that you've joined us, but we're not happy about this situation. I mean, the explosion that happened at the Kabul airport, you know, literally killing 90 Afghan people as well as 13 of our service
upwards
men
of
and
200.
women. Yeah,
you can't really get accurate numbers because
you can't. But that's what's reported anyway.
Right. The criminals in office don't want to give accurate numbers on anything. So,
but let's take a moment. I'd like to put their picture up on the screen of our 13 service men and women that have given their lives, and you know, we'll take a second to do that. My heart bleeds for those people. My heart bleeds for the families and the loved ones of those people that had to get that knock on the door. Out of the 13, there was 11 Marines. There was one member of the Army and one member of the Navy also that was killed. And not a whole lot of details on the Afghan people that were also killed during that.
Many children.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was apparently an explosion, suicide bomber, and that was followed up by an assault gunmen that, you know, rushed in, and out of that, yes, it took over 100 lives. So we're just sort of reeling with this. Boots and I talked last week, and we said we actually skipped a week. We needed a minute just to kind of, you know, put things in perspective from the last podcast that we did. And I said, oh my gosh, you know, one more week, and there's going to be all kinds of other catastrophes happen within that week that we would be wanting to talk about, or not honestly, really wanting to talk about, but talking about it.
I was too raw to even sit and discuss it. I'm too angry. And not only do
we're mad.
Not only do I blame this criminal administration that is holding the American people hostage, as well as the rest of the world, I also really have had a hard time not blaming Biden supporters. It's really hard for me, and I'm trying to rise above that. But I'm really, really struggling with that.
Yeah, and this morning's briefing at the Pentagon, and listening to that for quite some time this morning, I would say there were way more questions than there were answers. But that, you know, is
typical.
Yes, and who knows how much they can divulge. I mean, I respect our military. I respect the people there. You know, trying to, you know, do at least give somewhat of the information. There's a lot of things I'm sure that they can't give, but a lot of things that I would have loved to have had the answer to as well. What we do know is there's 122,000 people evacuated, and out of that 122, well, they're roughly about 5,400 of those are Americans. Maybe. The remainder of those are reported to be Afghans. None of us have all the answers. Obviously, still not getting all the answers, but you know, some of the questions were, you know, what are they going to do when they do pull out completely? You know, are they going? You know, what's going to happen to the ones that are left behind? And I think almost all of America is questioning that as well. So.
Well, I mean, according to the newsreels that I've seen today, when you've already had Black Hawk helicopters that belong to American taxpayers being flown over Kabul by Taliban members and by jihadists, the jihadists that have taken over Kabul, and they have bodies of American allies swinging by their necks from below the helicopters.
It's too graphic to even show you some of those things. I mean,
I think people need to see. I think
it's really horrible.
I think Americans need to see, because you're comfortable and you're complacent and you're apathetic, and your apathy has caused a lot of this.
Well, not everybody.
But for those who aren't apathetic, your inability to look at your neighbor, to look at your daughter, to look at your son, and to educate them and say, Your vote matters, and what you support in this world matters. And when you support evil, then you can expect evil to happen. That's exactly what we're seeing today.
Yeah, I want to kind of look at some of those questions and answers, and I'm going to have to kind of use a little cue card here to keep me on space, because this infuriates me so much that I can't even keep my mind straight. One of the questions were, asked about, what happens after August 31st to the people that were left behind, as I was saying before, and I can almost quote them saying, after the withdrawal is complete, that the State Department will then be in charge of that and possibly will be facilitating some of those things and those transportations. But, and I can quote this part, and it says, but they do not anticipate a military role in any of those efforts.
Right. Well,
so,
basically what has happened is this administration has not only weaponized jihadists, and we're not even talking about just the regular Taliban and Al-Qaeda that have a bloodthirst for us. We're talking the hardest core of the jihadists that actually Al-Qaeda and the Taliban do their dirty work for them. They are in charge. I can't even hardly keep my thoughts straight on this. I've been in such a tiz over it, because I can't imagine how.
And we're supposed to.
Yeah,
and we're supposed to.
Straight. I can't even keep my composure.
The average person out there, that don't even have the information we do, can imagine how disruptive and crazy and chaotic their thoughts are on all of this. Number two question that I was going to get to was, they asked of the 5,800 Americans that were left in Afghanistan when you pulled out, when this was first happening in the end of July, and why didn't they then begin to evacuate Americans at that point in time and our allies? And the answer was kind of daunting. It was kind of a, not a real good answer, but they just said basically that they had already baked into the retrograde plan back in the spring, and that they were in some type of negotiations to try to do that, but obviously that didn't work out. That they had been in touch with the government, of course, as well as colleagues across interagencies about what it would look like in the future when they did pull out and when they actually met a final day to actually pull out. So that's not very transparent
how could
there
you follow
at all.
through with any sort of concise evacuation plan when your intent and what you have done is you have weaponized terrorists. You have weaponized terrorists against the good people of the globe, and you also have left behind Afghan nationalists as well as American citizens that can be used in kidnapping plots, plans, and I can't even hardly speak about this. I would like to say what the mother of one of our troops has said. Kathy McCollum.
Terribly heartbreaking to hear this.
The mother of KIA Marine Ryan McCollum said, quote unquote, that feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap just sent my son to die. I woke up at 4 this morning with 2 Marines at my door telling me that my son was dead.
Yeah, God,
I never thought in a
horrible.
million years my son would die for nothing, because that feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap decided that he just needed a 9/11 photo op.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I can't imagine.
It's horrible. And actually, there's also a report that Biden did meet with some of the Gold Star families. But what I have found to be true is that many of them turned their back on him and would not meet with him. That wife did stay, and here's what she reported. She said that it was disingenuous. It was basically scripted and very disappointing, that meeting. The rest of the family members of this young man literally left. They did not even stay. She reported and said that if Biden really wanted to talk about his son Beau, and that the consensus of their just very few minute meeting really was surrounded around his son. It was really about them and not about her son. And that I mean, I'm sorry, her husband, forgive me for that, but also the family member, the mother, all of them felt the same way, that the comeback on that was just disingenuous. It just wasn't, it felt scripted, it felt rigid, and it only lasted a couple of minutes, and there was just one of that entire family that attended that. So I mean, you know, that's I truly believe that a lot of people, in fact, it's showing in the polls right now that Biden's at an all-time low as far as people. But it's a little late. It's a little late, don't you think? It's a little late for that. The people have died.
The worst foreign policy disaster in American history, and we're watching it unfold. It's made me sick. I know it's made many of you sick.
Yeah.
And you know, the idea of having questions that you expected to be answered, that's not going to happen, folks. That's not going to happen. Yeah. This was planned. This was all planned by this administration. This was nothing more than a means to weaponize terrorists.
Yeah.
Terrorists that have just absolutely done nothing but terrorize the world for years.
I'm forever hopeful over here, but you know, I'm about to believe that it's true.
I'm not hopeful. Our country and the world has absolutely no leadership, and this should really, really worry all of you.
Yeah, one of the reporters also said, or asked the question and said that her reports state, you know, they're claiming that there's just going to be a few thousand or whatever left behind, but her report is saying that there's really over 80,000 people that is reported to going to be left behind, and they kind of counteracted that and said they did not have access to those reports, so they could not again deny or confirm that number of people. But can you imagine if you were a loved one of someone that is left behind? I mean, how terrible and fearful you must be.
Do you know what's also just a point that I want to make about some of this, and we're talking world news, the Hindu news, as well as others. Of course, you're not going to hear this in the American propaganda networks that a lot of you get your news from, or not probably our people, but some people. That actually the group of jihadists that now are in charge, and actually you know, really in charge of the Taliban, have been getting intel for Chinese nationalists for the last few years. This group of jihadists has been working with Chinese nationalists and getting all sorts of intel on the United States and our military operations in Afghanistan.
Well, I don't know why that would be a surprise to anybody.
It shouldn't be.
It really shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. On that note, if it is, I mean, I'm surprised that you're surprised. How about that?
Nothing surprises me from these treasonous bastards anymore. Nothing,
they also asked them about the weapon, you know, the weaponry and the equipment that is already in the hands of the Taliban, as well as, you know, what happens at the airport when they actually completely pull out and it's over with. You know, what will happen to that, and are they destroying the ammunition and destroying those weapons? And it was clearly stated that the commanders, the last boots on the ground, I suppose, the commanders there have the right to destroy or get rid of, or whatever happens to them. That is actually their right to make that decision at the time. But they also kept stating that it's very chaotic and everything is in real time. They use the word dynamic a lot, that it's a very dynamic situation. Of course it would be a dynamic situation.
You've created that.
They were also asked about how many of the freed members that were imprisoned of ISIS and Al-Qaeda were there. That also could not be confirmed or denied, the numbers. But obviously we can tell, you know, you have a suicide bomber, you have a barrage of men with assault rifles coming in to follow that up, killing over 100 people. So, you know, I think the question has already been answered. I think it's been answered.
You also have Osama bin Laden's right-hand man, who's not been seen in over a decade, who is now resurfaced in Kabul, and members of the Taliban, etc., and the jihadist groups that are there have actually been filmed taking selfies with his motorcade.
I mean, it's like a great big entertainment party over there right now.
Well, they're celebrating. I mean, why would they not be? They have toppled the jihadists have toppled the United States of America because the criminals in the White House helped them do it.
I won't state the names, but you have top military personnel, people that have been generals and high level servicemen that have been in the area for 20 years, for the past 20 years, people that worked with the British Army, and they're all coming to the table and they're saying,
the same thing.
And they have knowledge. This is not just pulling it out of news or CNN or wherever. I mean, they have knowledge. They were boots on the ground. These are people with awards for keeping the peace and infiltrating into these this craziness and being able to
the real heroes.
Yeah, the real heroes. And they're coming out with saying that this is we are in more danger right now on American soil than we've ever been pre 9/11, and also can go dated back to when at World War II. And here's one thing that one of them said that really struck with me, and it actually affected me for days. Still affected me actually, because I'm thinking this is someone that actually knows what he's talking about for sure, for real, for certain. His credentials are there in all black and white. And he is saying that really what has happened, it's easy enough to say that we're stopping the war, that unnecessary war that was created, and that we're stopping that war. But the truth of the matter is we are so untrusted now, and that our allies and the other wars that will be popping up as a result of that it's really just beginning. And that we are not only in danger now, I mean, think about it. ISIS is going to absolutely start hitting us again on our own homeland. There's no way that that's not going to happen. Well, it was prevalent before Trump got into office. He took care of that, and at least
we've talked about this being much worse than
but
Saigon,
it's going to be back.
And the fall of Saigon, and Saigon doesn't even compare to what's going to happen on the world level after all this. And one of the main differences that people need to think about between the fall of Saigon and this complete and utter disaster that was orchestrated by the criminals in the White House is that the Vietnamese didn't have the means nor the plan to attack us on our own land, whereas the jihadists, these suicide bombers that have been taking out much of the horrific crimes for the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they will be here. And they will be striking against the American people.
Many of them, or some of them, are probably, been getting infiltrating as we are doing the escapes even. So how do we stop this now? So all these little smaller wars will pop up. People that we're an ally to, we're going to have to get involved in those wars. So literally, these generals are saying that, it has really just begun. I mean, it has just begun, people. I mean, we are in imminent danger. There's no question. Where's all the protests and
where are the protesters?
And where's all the voices? Where is the communities that were speaking out for women, for children, all the advocacy groups? Where's the voices and all that? They want to talk about the January 6ers. I want to talk about this bullshit.
Hey, bring them on.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
It's looking to me like we need a lot of those.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just my opinion.
It's actually, causing people to take a second look at that and go, you know what? Maybe
they were right.
Yeah, maybe they were.
Maybe they were onto something.
So what life is more valuable than another life? I mean, let's be clear on this. It's getting to the point where we can't trust anybody.
I have one last thing to say on this.
Yeah.
Because
I've got lots to say, but I don't have time to say it. That's the problem.
Today, I'm not going to. But the last thing I'm going to say today, at this moment, about this is you had better organize. You need to organize. We have got to group together.
Just be prepared.
We have got to organize. We have got to have a plan of action. We no longer need to be the silent majority.
No.
We need to be the lions that roar.
Need to speak up.
And we have got, I can't say what, but we have got to raise our voices.
Yeah.
We have got to protest. We have got to raise hell. And never, ever, ever give up your right, your God-given rights, your Second Amendment rights to bear arms and to protect yourself, because you may very well need them.
Well, and by you saying that, you could be, indicted for, stirring the pot and getting together.
Okay, well, to me, the criminals in the White House.
You can't say shit anymore.
The criminals in the White House are the largest threat to America that we have.
That's really true.
I feel threatened for my life
they are to blame
by
for
the
this.
administration that is in the White House. How about that?
Hey, listen, no one's denying that the war in Afghanistan needed to end. There is no question that we want our servicemen and women home. It's the way in which it was done is the problem. It is the callousness to which it was done that you don't mind walking off and leaving other people. And it's not the military. There's no way you could convince me that our military is fine with any of this.
I'm going to play
bad cop here. They're given orders. They're given orders.
I'm going to play bad cop here.
I don't even know if I can be a good cop in this scenario. I don't even know if I can do that.
Because this was never, ever meant to be anything other than a catalyst for future wars and for death and destruction, and to engage the American people in death and in war.
Yeah.
That's all. We've had years of peace. We had years of peace in the Middle East. And now we're thrown right back into turmoil
in like 18
and chaos.
months. There hadn't been anybody killed in like 18 months, from what I'm understanding. I mean, not that it wasn't always you're in danger for that. There's no question, but my God, it's just nuts what's going on in this world.
I can't say any more today about this because I've absolutely been sick to my stomach.
Thought you was going to go over the Pineapple Express situation.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the Pineapple Express another time. But thank God for these men and women. Thank God.
I think people need to know that there's people out there that are actually on the sidelines going over and trying to, get people out. I think they need to know that.
We're going to talk more in depth about this, but thank God for the brave souls that have participated in the Pineapple Express, which has been responsible solely for
quite a few of them,
saving
actually.
and rescuing upwards of 1,000 or so individuals.
Well, that's about all that we can say about this right now. I mean, no, that's actually not true. We could say a whole lot more, but you don't have the time, and we don't have the time either to be able to stay here for
the scowl that I have had on my face for endless days now is really
I miss your pretty face.
I know, it's causing a lot of wrinkles. So,
gosh.
I mean, at this rate, I'll never get a boyfriend.
Yeah. At this rate, I don't want one.
I know. Well, I mean, I've kind of been there, but I'm kind of almost thinking that taking applications for a post-apocalyptic warlord might not be a bad idea.
So, yeah. Anyway, we do appreciate you tuning in to us. We really do. There's nothing to laugh about, even though we want to laugh. We want to laugh. We are trying. Too bad that we have to try to laugh, but it's just like, oh my gosh. I guess we're just going to cut it off right now and just say, please comment and please subscribe and, talk with each other. Talk to us about your feelings on this. We'd like to hear your comments, suggestions.
It's not about party.
Any of that, we'd want to hear about that. So, for now, until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.